In this video tutorial, we're going to take a look at drawing lips or drawing a mouth, kind of from a 3/4 view. We're going to be using chalk pastels for this. We're also going to be using some chalk pastels pencils, which is what we're starting out with here. And we're also going to be using some Prismacolor new pastels. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to lightly sketch everything out with a pastel pencil. You'll notice I'm not using a graphite pencil because the graphite would mix with the chalk pastels and create an undesirable gray undertone. So I'm going to be drawing everything with the chalk pastels. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start kind of with this light red, kind of a pink color, and just highlight some of the areas. Then I'm going to go over with a little bit of a darker red and start filling in some of those colors. Now you'll notice that the strokes that I'm making are following the cross contours of the lips, and that's going to help define the lips a little bit. You'll also notice through the development of this drawing that it goes through phases, and a lot of people get discouraged when they use pastels right off the start because it doesn't look like a finished drawing. Well, you know, I kind of laugh when I say that because a drawing needs to be developed, and especially when you're using pastels or oil pastels or colored pencils or any medium that needs to be layered, you have to go through those steps. You have to layer and really take your time before your drawing is going to start to develop. Now, while I've been talking, some things have happened. You might notice I'm darkening some of the areas, but I'm using a blue and a brown to do that, not a black yet. I will use black later in the demonstration, but just here and there. Black's pretty powerful, so I haven't used black at this point yet. Now I'm taking a pastel pencil, and again with kind of that pinkish color, I'm filling in more of the area, again following the cross contours. And you'll notice that I'm kind of working sketchy, and as I go along I get a little bit more detailed and more controlled with my medium. Alright, now I'm using one of those new pastels. And the new pastels are a little bit more compressed than regular chalk pastels. So the material comes off a little less powdery. It will give you a little bit more control, but it is a little bit harder to layer new pastels over traditional pastels. So this is kind of a lighter pink color. Now every once in a while I'll grab my white and make sure I define some of the highlights. We want the lips to have a little indication of being wet, so we're going to do this with highlighted areas with the white pastel. Now since lips protrude out, they're going to have dark around the edges, and the lighter areas are going to be closer towards the center of the lips. You can see that a little bit developing on the top lip and the bottom lip already. Now I finally grabbed my black, and you can see I'm using it to go over the colors that I've already put down. That way it's not straight black, but rather a darker value of the color that's already there. And just making the bottom part of the top lip a little bit darker to give the lips a little indication of being curved. And there should be some cracks in the lips too, so I'm defining those a little bit with the darker color. And my teeth as well don't need to be completely white. They need to have some areas of value, so I'm adding a little bit of black, a little bit of brown on there, and just making those teeth look a little bit more realistic. You can see here in the video that the black's not really translating totally as black. Instead, it's just translating as a darker value of the colors that I've already put down. And that's exactly what I'm going for here. Now I'm toning that black down a little bit with a little bit of that light red. That's going to make the black look even less like black and more like the tonality that I'm going for. Again, some more highlights here and there. Now our lips are starting to look wet. They're starting to look three-dimensional. We're going to add a little bit of shadow underneath that lip on the teeth. Since the teeth are recessed in the mouth, we want it to look that way in our drawing. And then we're just going to clean up some of the edges around the lip. You're going to try to keep your workspace clean as well. Now I'm going to add a little bit of skin tone around the edges just so you can see the contrast in the skin tone of the lips. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with the skin tone but just enough time so that you can see the contrast between the lips and the skin tone that might be around it. If I was to develop the skin tone a little bit further, I would be sure to use a little bit of red, maybe some yellow, and definitely a little bit more white, but this should give you a good idea of what the finished lips would look like. I'm also going to let some of the edges kind of blend in with the lips, because the lips don't necessarily just end and skin starts. It's kind of a smooth transition between the lips and the skin. I am going to be sure to put a little bit of shadow underneath the lips, since the lips protrude out. There's always a little bit of shadow underneath the lips. And you'll notice I'm doing that with a brown, not a black. I want my skin tone to appear warm. Now I'm going to add some white with my white chalk pastel, and I'm going to let some of that skin tone kind of overlap the lips, as I mentioned before. Make that transition look a little bit smoother. And increase the contrast between the shadow underneath the lip and the skin tone around that. We're almost there. I'm just going to add a couple more highlights, maybe just a little bit of a darker value on the bottom of the lips, so the lips keep that rounded look to them. And now I'm going to just take the original light red that I used and kind of blend some of those lines, and there you have it. You've got lips in chalk pastels.